The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good evening, listeners. So thrilled to be here with you. And I want to share something very exciting. So just a couple of days back, we celebrated the anniversary of my book, Expert to Influencer, and I'd love to share the screen with you. So what has happened is that I want to share that after 1 year, folks, it is still a bestseller. And as you can see right here on the screen, it's Amazon bestseller, and it's right there. So what I want to do is I want to thank each and every one of you. Really, really want to thank from the bottom of my heart for making this possible. Because as you all know, part of the profits are going to entrepreneurs impacted by COVID-19. So if you have not got your copy, get your copy today and make a difference in someone's life. And today, we have a different show format than usual. We have 3 guests. So I'm going to start inviting them in. Welcome, Shelia. We have got Shelia Heard with us.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? Inviting next. Awesome. That's good to hear, Shelia. You're looking wonderful.
Thank you.
Our next guest, and folks, we need to give her kudos for staying up. She wanted to be here with you, Berit Ladefoged, and she is in Denmark, and it's 2 a.m. over there. So welcome, Berit.
Thank you so much, Divya. Thank you for having me on board.
Yeah, thank you for staying up so late for us and joining us. And
of course.
And of course, as we say, the last is the best, the first is the best, and the second is the best. Bryan Dunn.
Well, hey there, Divya. It's great to see you. And I just want to say that I have Expert Influencer, and I'm loving it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, because the whole goal is that we can make a difference in people's lives. So Shelia, share with us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am retired military, and I came home to take care of my daughter because at the time she had lost her sight and use of her arms and legs. And then a year after that, my son was diagnosed with a mental illness. And then a year after that, my son had died, my oldest son, and he was charged with his death. So just through all that process, I just had to work on me. I had to be strong for them to get them where they are today. And I am just so grateful for where they are today. Because when I say I am the emotional, disaster queen, I am, literally. Because I just feel like if I wasn't as strong as I was, they wouldn't be where they are today.
Shelia, I'd like to thank you for your services and want to say I've known you for so long. And folks, Shelia, Berit, and Bryan, they're good friends of mine. And it's amazing that every single day, whenever I meet them, they'll never cease to amaze me. Shelia, thank you for your services, and I am rooting for you You're awesome.
Thank you.
And Bryan, thank you again for sharing your thoughts about Expert to Influencer, because the goal for that book is to make everybody an influencer and make this world a better place where we all can come together and be that tide that lifts all boats. So do share about yourself.
Well, I was born a diabetic, and so growing up, type 1 diabetes, and so now I've had it for almost 50 years. Became a special ed teacher. Got my master's in special ed many years ago. I taught for about 20 years. When I left teaching, I was thinking, what am I going to do? And after pondering, I realized I had been doing hypnotherapy with friends and family for 20-something years. So I rolled everything into my hypnotherapy business and then parlayed that into coaching, learned about havening therapies, met up with Berit and you and Sheila and a bunch of other people, and have just been able to help many more people. And it's been extremely fulfilling. And so I've been able to kind of capitalize on all the gifts I've been given by everybody else and put that into practice.
Beautiful. And of course, you're an amazing person. And Berit, she is such a trooper, she'll stay up late. She has been on our guest list, before, and she has joined her. So without further ado, Berit, share about yourself.
Thank you, Divya. And a little bit like Sheila and Bryan just said, coming together with the right people, experiencing that you're not alone. It's never easy to go through hard times in life. And somehow, even though we prepare, we're never prepared. And I think that each one of us, including myself, we all hold a story that's taking us where we are today. And definitely what life has taught me is that the changes and the challenges we face are sometimes above our own skills and knowledge. And I can say that for myself. And for the listener who's asking which country I am from, I am sitting in Denmark, Copenhagen, so I am across the ocean, and it's 2:00 in the morning here right now.
We love you so much that our guests are also here for questions. So Sheila, we have somebody, quite a few people sharing, thank you for your service to our country. That's phenomenal. I really appreciate our veterans and our heroes in all industries, right? Health industries are frontline workers everywhere. We've got a lot of our heroes, and that's what we are going to be talking about today is how can we all come together and not only have just one hero or two heroes, but have heroes amongst us in day-to-day life. You are my hero because you show up and you listen. So I want to celebrate each and every one of you too, my listeners. So there are questions. So Sheila, I'm going to ask you to share. They've asked about your children. Can you share with us how are your kids doing right now and where are they at?
Well, my oldest daughter she still doesn't have any sight, and she have better use of her arms and legs. But when she had just graduated high school is when she first started getting down, and she couldn't do nothing but turn her head left and right. And that was a hard time because I had limited resources and a little bit of help because I was away, but she's doing fine now. She is married.
Congratulations.
And my son, he was diagnosed at 19. Both of them were diagnosed at 19. And he still struggles. He still struggles. But he's doing good. He has a job now. So he's doing fine so far. But I had to keep them covered I had to keep all of them covered in prayer. But he has his bad days and he has his good days.
I'm sure you're very proud of him. I know I'm proud of him.
Yes.
And proud of your daughter too.
Yes, he
So
still have a
Bryan,
difficult time. He still have a difficult time, dealing with what happened, but he's doing a lot better. He's doing a lot better.
and you said it, he's doing a lot better. So many times what happens is that we do get caught. Oh, my life is miserable. My life is not this. But look at how you presented it. It was so beautiful that things were really bad. And yes, he has good days and bad days, but things are better. And it's such a beautiful perspective to have that situation could be worse. And that does not minimize your pain or problem by any means. It's just looking at the situation with a different perspective. And Bryan, there's a question for you. How do you manage your illness?
It is a day by day dynamic. When I was about 30, I kind of had a reckoning. I've never been totally out of control, but just the understanding that diabetes kind of takes you apart piece by piece. And that year was really very difficult for me. The moment I wake up in the morning, take a blood test, everything revolves around blood sugar. What am I going to eat? What am I going to do? What's my exercise regimen going to be? And so for me, what I did is I started to focus just on one aspect at a time, and that was taking my blood tests. And what I found is that when I was able to take my blood tests regularly and in earnest, then everything else started to fall into place. And then I was able to build and grow from there. So often these things get so overwhelming, it's hard to, know where to go, know what to do, know what to focus on. So I just kind of stopped, focused on my blood sugars. If I could hone in on that, then I could adjust my insulin properly. Then I could adjust my food properly. Then everything else. And so that's how I've approached it physically. And mentally, really, for my life, I've never seen myself as a victim of the diabetes. The diabetes does not define me. I am a diabetic. I take injections, and so really, there are days I have to regroup. There are times that it's much more difficult than others, but in general, right attitude and having a good support base. Honestly, my parents, my lovely wife Leslie, they know what's going on and they've got my back, as well as do all of you when we have our meetings and Berit says, Bryan, do you need to eat something? I'm like, let me check my blood sugar. So thank you for the question, Divya.
Oh, it's listeners asking, our listeners are very powerful and they want to learn and they carve the path of the show. So
absolutely. Then
one of the questions,
I'm glad you're there.
Yeah. And one of the questions that has come up is that how did you manage to go through all that? Like, how did you find that strength? And what I'm going to do is, folks, ask each and every of our guests, because each and every one of us goes through tough times in our lives where we feel that, okay, I'm at the end of my tether. And sometimes some people can just get on your last nerve. They don't mean to. And there's so many different things that happen, and yet we strive through it. And one of the things I always recommend is bringing mindfulness, being present right there in the moment. Because so many times what happens is you're caught in the past, and when you're caught in the past, you don't see the present, and you're not able to think about the future. Or what happens is like, oh, I'm thinking about my future, I got to take care of my future, and then you're losing your present. So bringing that mindfulness in the mix really helps. So Berit, I know you've been through a lot of tough times. Can you share with us, what is it that has helped you move through those tough times?
Thank you, Divya. Of course I can. I think that for listeners, it's a long story, but a short story, very short. Being bullied by $1 billion company, losing my mother and father in the same period. I think that as a person, we can address problems from different angles, but we can't address many problems from many angles at the same time. And the struggle when you are at your professional side, the struggle in your personal and private side, when you're dealing with parents and children, it challenges your personality from all sides. The pressure taught me the extremely importantness of finding and being around the good people. And good people is people where you enter and think about something you want to do, you do it, and the consequence comes, and the outcome leaves you at a better place than you were you alone. So I think that just with you guys here coming together on a weekly basis as we do, I enjoy the strength and the build up, but most of all, the confidence and the trust that we are able to put into each other and rely on. So for me, I can say that, yes, it's very, very difficult, but that's when you need to be prepared and be ready to have the right people around you, so you know who to reach out to and you're not alone. And whatever we face, someone has tried it, someone has been there, and you can really draw on their expertise. It's just to get to know the right people who can share with them what you're going through and what they went through, and see the comparison. Don't, for honesty, don't make my mistakes. I can tell you I failed and it didn't work out.
Berit, you said it, having the right people. So it's about creating that trusted circle. And all of us go through tough times. And one of the tough times during my life was when I broke my shoulder in multiple places. And that was the time I had just stepped out of my corporate world after making really good money. And I was all excited. My business was going great and getting paid speaking engagements. Not only that, and we had to get health insurance. And as we were getting it, the deductibles were high. I went into debt of almost $40,000, $50,000. But by God's grace, and yes, there is power in prayer, that question that you said, having that faith. And one thing that I learned from that is knowing that you can do it by yourself, knowing that it's okay to ask for help. That was my biggest lesson that I learned, where I knew I was so humbled. I couldn't even eat because it was my right hand. I would eat and like everything would, I'd be drooling like a baby. Even baby ate better than I was. And then I realized, you know what? I'm not the super mom, or I'm not the super woman or a Wonder Woman. I'm a human being, and it's okay to fall as long as you are ready to get back up again, and as long as you're ready to reach out to people and have that trusted circle. So Shelia, share your experience. How did you get through?
Well, for one thing, I am Christ-centered and Christ-focused, and that's the very vein of my existence. Because, it has allowed me the ability to be able to shift in the moment. And I have had several of those moments that I had to shift in. Because when my daughter tried to call me, I was at work and I didn't answer my phone. You know how you just get a funny feeling. And then I heard on the phone and said, he's dead. Because then when 911 called my phone, I knew something was wrong. Mm-hmm. But then people would always tell me, I don't see how you make it. You are so strong. And I have to tell them, I'm not in my own strength. Do you think I can survive all this on my own strength? And then one time somebody had said, you still love your son the same, even though the incident has happened. I said, yes, I still love my son the same. He has an illness. And he has that support from me. That's what he needed then, and that's what he still needs now. And I believe also, too, along my journey when I was in the military, they helped instill some of that discipline in me as well. And then as well as, going through some trainings and stuff that I went through, while I was wasn't able to go to work and stay at home. And then, like y'all say, y'all are always there. I can call Bryan, I can call Berit, and hey, it's all good. But at the end of the day, I have to be in awareness and work on myself. So one thing I pride on myself is giving up on myself is never an option. That'll never happen because I may have a bad day, but before that day is up, I'm good.
Oh, that's beautiful. Never give up on yourself. Very true. And Bryan, how about you?
When I was in my late teens, my parents got a divorce. Actually, they got divorced when I was 14, got back together, then separated again, and then got remarried. So my dad introduces me as his stepson, which is kind of funny, actually. Very clever old man. But my mom told me, she kept trying to get me to read these self-help books. Now I'm 18 years old. I don't want to read self-help books, right? So, but finally I pick up one of the self-help books, and in the foreword, there was a Chinese saying, and kind of to summarize it, to pull together it is, life is difficult. Once you accept that fact, life becomes easy. And that really resonated with me. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years later that it really gelled. And that is, things are tough. I can spend my life bemoaning them, crying about them, cursing them, begrudging myself, begrudging others, or I can say, yeah, that is tough, and move forward. Getting up and taking an injection every morning is difficult. I can be angry about it and curse powers that be, or I can get up and take the shot. Quite often it's a matter of going zen and just taking care of what's in front of us. You ask how I get through these things, and I think Shelia can probably agree with this with her military training. Sometimes it's just doing. You just have to put one foot in front of the other. That's kind of one of our mottos with coaching in life is one foot in front of the other. And as long as I can keep putting that other foot in front of the other, I'm going to get through it. And so that's kind of the philosophy that I rely on.
Oh, that's awesome, Bryan. As they say, right, the journey of a mile begins with a single step. So absolutely. It's just putting one step forward on the other. So now, as you're moved in your career, I'd like for us to kind of have some lighter moments. I want y'all to go back in your childhood. And Berit, do you recall a moment in your childhood when it was fun and yet it left a remarkable imprint on your mind and memory that lasted you for the rest of your life and had an impact on your life?
For sure. I think that those are the biggest time, and something that those are the things that you recall in your difficult times is exactly those moments when you have an imprint. And I remember when I started swimming, I had been swimming, with the air in my arms, and my mother had been telling me, be careful, you need to take control of the water. And here in Denmark, we have a lot of water, and a lot of the waters are cold, and you need to be careful with it. But we were on holiday, and I go into the swimming pool, and I just jump out, and I forgot my wings, and I could swim. Which makes me today, many years older, much experience. Sometimes when I think that I'm going to fail, I just jump in and I know that I am going to make it. I somehow recall that moment when my feet touches the water and I am not scared and I am going to make it. After that, I swam a lot, and I also started swimming in competition because I just loved it so much. I couldn't let it go. I had to swim. I got up every morning at 5 o'clock, swam for 2.5 hours, went to school fresh. But it gave me something, and it was when I got out of the water that time, I think I've probably been 8 years old. When I got out of the water, my mother didn't scream at me or anything. she just calmly said to me, "What did I tell you? You can swim."
Yeah, that's definitely, it's your mom believing in you and mom supporting you. Great story. How about you, Sheila?
I can remember when I was young. Everybody always seemed to think that I was lying, and I never could understand why, because I was always telling the truth. And so I was in the 5th grade one year, and I just got tired of it. I said, what, forget it. Don't nobody believe me or whatever. And I almost failed the 5th grade. And so I said, okay. So then I said, but don't nobody else care, I care. Don't nobody else love me, I love me. So I vowed then that, I had to live for me. And that's what I took on in my life. And then I can remember when I was in the military, the same thing had happened, because I had came home and it was bad weather. And I'm like, it was bad weather. Why do you think I'm lying? I said, well, just call them and check and see for yourself. But that strengthened me, because that helped me to understand and see that, that I had to have my back. Sometimes you're going to have to stand on your own. And sometimes you're going to have to encourage and motivate yourself. Because I can remember one time I was in a bad marriage, and I said, you know what? I'm married to this man, and I feel this way right here. And that's when I made a decision. I would never, ever give up on me. And it has served me well. All the rest of it, I just kept on adding stuff on as I went along.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking husbands?
Huh?
Are you talking your added husbands as you went along?
No.
Bryan.
I had just kind of the regular white bread childhood, aside from the diabetes and parental issues. But when you asked this question, a memory really came up, and it was junior high, 7th grade, and they were putting on the first school play, Tom Sawyer, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. And a buddy of mine and I decided we were going to go and audition, and we were also willing to do anything, stage hands, whatever it took, building the sets, getting props, whatever it was. And I remember going to school the next day, and as I'm going through the gate, kids are running up to me going, "You got Tom Sawyer, you got Tom Sawyer." And I was just kind of gobsmacked. And it was so exciting and so neat. Number one, it was kind of this niche that I found myself in where I really felt accepted. But moreover that, the lesson it taught me is when I open all the possibilities, when I enter into a situation and can accept a multitude of outcomes, that, things will work out in my favor. And I think that's kind of just stands to reason, because if I went in and said, I really don't mind doing props, and they cast me doing props, then that'd be great. But it was really exciting. And so it is, I don't know if you could tell, I'm a little more dramatic than the average person. Just a skosh. But it also has availed me to so many opportunities to do different things that I never would have gotten to do if I would have narrowed my perspective and said, I'm only accepting this. This is all I will accept. It can't be anything else. And so that's what I took away from that. Great question, Divya. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And Tom Sawyer? Oh, my goodness. Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, a couple of my favorite ever time stories.
And it was a musical, and I like to think I can sing. I don't know if other people think I can sing so well, but I did it anyway. That's right.
All right. In one of our next meetings, you're singing.
Oh, you're killing me. I think I got the black lung, Divya.
Get ready.
Absolutely. As long as you don't ask me to sing, I'm just a shower singer.
We're singing together. We're doing it. All 4 of us. And,
all right.
And we'll get the others, yeah.
I'll just be lip singing, okay?
Yeah. Whatever works. I'm good with it. You know me.
Absolutely. Cool. So we talked about a little bit about the stories. Now we're going to touch upon a time in your career, how did you become the person you are today? Not long, just kind of touch upon it. And how do you feel in it right now? Because so many times what happens is, people will, I was on a podcast just actually a couple of days back on Saturday afternoon. And the gentleman asked me, what do you do in your spare time? And I said, what spare time? I don't have any spare time because I love what I do and I do what I love. So it's never work. I mean, of course, there are aspects of entrepreneurship that I'm sure none of us like, especially like doing the admin work and where you're sitting down and just taking care of mundane matters. But then again, it goes back to is that accepting things, that it is part of that thing that I love. And when we talk about acceptance and bringing that mindfulness and joy to it, it helps you get over that annoyance or that dislike for something or that fear. So I know listeners, usually I'm always coming back to mindfulness, but here's what I'm going to share, that mindfulness just doesn't come from a place of some, far, far east, there was this monk and who used to do meditation. This is, I'm talking to you on basis of science, neuroscience, and studies after studies after studies have shown that when you're present in the moment and you're focused, not only you're able to live life, you can experience the different spectrum, every color in the spectrum of life. And you accept the situation and you're able to get over that fear. So let's look at our guest today and see how did they become the person they are today. And I'm sure, fear has a play in your lives. How do you get over it? So the two-part questions, folks. Sheila.
Well, for me, I learned how to make the best of whatever experiences that I go through. Because if it don't kill you, it'll only make you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's one of the aspects of why I am the person that I am today, is because of the Christ Foundation and being able to accept that experience for what it is and just turning that negative into a positive. I mean, that has been such a great grace for me, because to be able to deal with everything that I have had to deal with and still have to deal with on a constant basis, it's a requirement. It is definitely a requirement. And I don't think that I would change anything, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Because some people would say sometime, if this right here would have happened or that would have happened, and I just say no, because I really don't think that I would be the person that I am today if I hadn't went through the journey the way that I went through it. Because one thing that I believe, that God don't make no mistakes. And so I deal with what's there, turn that negative into a positive and just keep it moving, be able to shift in that moment.
You are performing the alchemy of life, right? Turning the base metal into gold, Sheila.
Yes.
Awesome. How about you, Berit?
Berit?
Is that me?
Yeah.
So Berit, folks, we will have to give a pass to Berit. She's probably
It's like 2 a.m. So Berit,
2 in the morning.
I didn't know that it was me.
Around.
I thought that you asked Bryan about me. I think that life's lessons has taught me that people don't make mistakes on purpose. I have failed big time, especially when I worked in the corporate, by small things where I didn't know, and it was never the intention, and definitely the outcome and was definitely disastering. Having said that, I think that people, when we fail, that's when we need the support. And I also think that it has taught me it's something that you have to hold on to. It's not the problems that we have that's the problem. It's the way we look at the problems. And it's actually having good problems with good people. That's fantastic. And having someone to rely on with the problems, that's even better. So now working with digitalization, which is definitely a human transformation, helping people to go into the future and take the digitalization up front and understand what it is that they're dealing with. That's what it's taught me, that there's so much more we can do, and if we just use our competences right. But this fact that when we come together, we're stronger. This, that we don't tell each other about our weaknesses. I think, especially learning from Shelia over the time, seeing the strength that we have when we are more than one, especially if we think about my writing, right, Shelia? But having said that, it's really a strengthening approach when people help each other, and we don't fail, we succeed. And it's the point where we should let go, that we should hold on, and having the people that stays with you when you need it, when you're weak, those are the people you want to celebrate with when things are well. So that's definitely what it's taught me.
Beautiful. Bryan?
You know, when you brought this up, two things came to mind when dealing with the fear. And the number one thing, the number one place I go to is that all of your feelings are legitimate. And when we deny those feelings, they build and they come at you with a vengeance, you know? So I embrace my fear. I accept my sadness. I accept my joy. I relish it. I let it have that life. You know, I let it exist. And when I'm able to do that and I'm not suppressing it, it's okay to be fearful. That's okay. You know, we're all fearful as long as it doesn't rule everything. So we can say, you know, it's okay that I'm fearful of whatever. And then we can move on. And the next thing has a lot to do with what Berit said about not failing. And there's another expression I use is I don't lose, I learn. You know, I don't fail, I learn. When I taught special ed, my kids did not succeed to get into my class. They had to be kicked around. They had to be knocked about. They had to feel like failures and losers. So by the time they got into my room, they were already way behind the 8 ball. And I would just say, ain't no thing. You know, this is where we make mistakes. This is where we learn from those mistakes. This is where we try different things. And that's really what life is all about. You know, if I drive down this road and there's road work ahead, I'm going to take a different road next time. So it's all just a matter of problem solving as we go. And we are all problem solvers. So acknowledge your feelings, good and bad. Let them be, and then move forward. And then accept making mistakes. That's all part of, you know, you can't succeed if you don't make mistakes.
Absolutely. Don't let the perfect get in the way of progress. And Bryan, I know you help people with helping them release their fears. And one of the questions that has our great questions, listeners, when would people know when to let go?
When it becomes debilitating, when it is pervasive, when that's all you can think about. For example, right now I'm going through a very difficult time personally with family, and it's been a couple days, and if I don't, I've started to pull out. It started to become, you know, kind of rationalizing, you know, and normalizing, I should say, of what it should be. But if that continued and stopped me from performing, from getting out of bed, from doing all that, then I would reach out, you know, and most of us know when it's time, you know, and so if you're feeling it and you think it, reach out for help. whether that be somebody like me, a hypnotherapist or healing practitioner, or a coach like Sheila for, personal emotional growth, or Berit for stress release, or you, Divya, or seeing a psychiatrist or psychologist, reach out. Even if it's new, and you're just feeling like you need it. If you feel you need it, reach out and get it.
Yeah, and you guys,
like you're consuming, you just feeling like you're being consumed, and you can't do anything else. You can't focus on anything else. But yeah, you more than definitely need to reach out to help.
And listen to those around you. It was my wife has said at times, you think you want to talk to somebody? You might want to that's a good idea. That probably saved my life, actually.
Absolutely. And listeners, I gotta give you kudos because it's not just today. I've been on air for so many years, and just the power of your questions, the power of your presence over here, being part of this family. And it goes back to having the trusted circle. So when you talk about letting go, don't let it come to that point where it becomes debilitating. Check it that, this is my goal, this is my dream, and I'm standing in my own way. Don't let it get that far. If you're finding it, go find that hand that will support you. Build that circle of trust who's got your back. It's really important. Berit, you got any thoughts on this?
Of course I do. that is definitely my core. I think that I think that's what I am about, is about reaching out and coming together. And having had stress also myself, I can say that sometimes you don't know. You just don't know. And that's why the people around you, it's so important to have someone who can speak to you so you understand it. And that's the trouble a little bit with us humans, is that we don't get it until we get it. And it can be exactly the same. But we have to find and give ourselves the space to get into the ability to open up for other people to support us. And I mean, building the community and building just show up is just what this is about. Having and giving people something where they can just reach out. Maybe you don't want to talk, but maybe you just want to be present and listen. Maybe you don't know what you need, and you need to ask a few people what is the right thing for me to do right now. I mean, we all ask to find our way. And sometimes it is harder to see what is our way and what is our learning. And we need that support and help. I can only recommend from the bottom of my heart, from my own experience, the joy and pleasure that I get from having that safety line with you guys. I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And you said it, Berit. You definitely said it. And there's another question. What do we need to do to find the right people in our lives? So, folks, one of the things I'll share with you is having friends who are there for you during the bad weather and the fair weather. I always say there are two types of friends. Fair weather friends who are there for you for times, good times. And it's okay. We are not here to judge anybody, because you do need people who are the light of the party and light of the life. And then there are friends who will just be there by your side, no matter what, without judging you. So that's how you know who the right people are. Another thing is, the right people in your life will not hesitate to tell you what you don't want to hear. Because that's one of the things, whether you're finding a person to talk to or build your trusted circle, or finding a coach, or finding your psychologist or therapist or whoever you're going to, if they're not telling you what you don't want to hear, that means it doesn't mean that they're not good at what they do, but they don't have your back to the fullest. Because what happens is when somebody tells you what you don't want to hear, they are willing that you will hate them. They're willing to go to that lens because they love you so much that they want to see you evolve. They want to see you succeed. And yes, there are times that even on the show, we have conversations that are tough, that are hard. But these are some of the conversations, these are difficult conversations needed to happen. Really critical. So these are the few things, folks, that are important to find the right people in your life. So Shelia, if you can share with us where all of you can be found and share, the new launch that's coming up.
Yes, you can go to coachinginlife.com and you can just test us out to see if you want to be a part of our family, to see if you're a fit. You can just come in there and just talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. We're there. We are what you need when you need it to help you to get unstuck and continue on with your life. It is a process, but you have to be willing to work the recipe. You have to be willing to put that skin into the game. You have to determine within yourself, it must change, you must change it, and it must change now. But see, we are here to offer you that support, to handhold you, however you see fit and how long you need us for. Guess what? There's no obligation. If you see that you're not a fit, no harm, no foul. But we would love for you to come and be a part of our family.
Beautiful. So it's coachinginlife.com. And I would love to, first of all, thank your listeners for being part of our family. And I love you guys. You guys have always been there. And without you, the show would not be possible. And I want to thank each and every of our guests. Thank you, Shelia. Thank you, Bryan. Thank you, Berit, for joining us and having a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
And last but not the least,
Happiness.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rebel, for making the show possible. And folks, until next time, be well, take care, and as always, reach out to me. You have been very kind and generous in finding that time and connecting with me on my email. Connect with me and let me know what stories, what tools do you need so that I can be here to serve and support you to make your life better. Until next time, be brilliant and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.